today had some computer problems, so I couldn't have a way to send the SHAC minutes from the last November meeting, but they will be posted on the webpage. We're going to start today with welcoming everybody and thanking you for joining us. We do have a special guest, Heath Hardwick, and Dr. Holt has a special guest. Heath Hardwick did a wonderful job in November of talking to us about Senate Bill 9 about trafficking kids, drugs, and all that. And we're going to have him back again. He's really, really good.
Okay, thank you, Miranda.
Hey, Dr. Williams. Thank you. Anyway, today I'm going to turn this over to make sure that you sign in on chat. If you can sign in on chat that you were here, or you know the folks from your campus that are there, so that we have a roster, because we do get audited and this is a mandate. I'm going to turn the program over today to Dr. Susan Holt. She is our Director of Curriculum. Did I get that right?
Director of Secondary Curriculum.
Secondary Curriculum, I'm sorry. Doing a wonderful job. Thank you for everything you do for the district and for the kids. And we're going to talk about the new sex ed adoption book, and she has a presenter, but Dr. Holt, thank you.
All right, welcome everyone. The reason we come before you today is that we are in the middle of Proclamation 2022, which is the adoption of PE health, and actually sex education also falls within this year of adoption as well. So what we have done is we put together a committee and subcommittee for the district for Proclamation to review and to recommend to the board our resources that we will be adopting for PE and health. In elementaries, we did Quavar, which we will be taking to the board. And for secondary, we are adopting Goodheart and Wilcox publisher. So that will be 6 through 12. Currently, we don't offer any health 1 or 2 at the secondary high school level. But today we have Ms. McCarley, who has come to us as a consultant from the company, from the publishing company, and she's going to share with you the modules within the resource for middle school and for high school, and talk a little bit about the module for sex education that is an independent module allowing us to do the opt-out for parents if they so choose for their children not to be involved in that education. But that education is a mandate, as are all PE and health. And she'll probably go over, so some of this may be redundant. I'm sorry if I'm stepping on you, Mary. But this was the adoption for Goodheart and Wilcox was the sole adoption by the State Board of Education with 100% TEKS coverage. So we are pleased, and that is why our subcommittee is making this recommendation. So I will again introduce Ms. Mary Harley, who is a consultant with the publisher, to share information. So save some of your questions or post them in the chat line, and I'll try to also look at those and help get some of those answered for you if you have questions throughout that. And we'll have a few minutes at the end for questions as well. So the floor is yours, and thank you, Ms. McCarley.
Thanks so much. And am I also, oh, perfect. Thank you for allowing me to share my screen. And I will formally introduce myself at this time. I am Mary McCarley, and I am the Health Education Content Specialist with Goodheart Wilcox, and actually the co-author of Texas Health Skills for Middle School. So I was a health teacher for 15 years in Charlotte Mecklenburg schools. I do still live in Charlotte, North Carolina, but my main responsibility with Goodheart Wilcox is to make these kind of presentations, just making sure that everybody is aware of our resources so they can make the best decision for their district, and then also to help with training, professional development, and ongoing support. So we are absolutely honored and proud to be the only publisher that has been adopted by the Texas State Board of Education for middle and high school health, and also meet 100% of the TEKS. And I know I've already had an opportunity to present to your teachers. So this is just going to be a very quick overview at the beginning, but my focus of this time together is to really focus on those lessons related to HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. But for those that are just hearing about us for the first time, we are Goodheart Wilcox, and we have been around 100 years. And for most of those 100 years, we've been well known as the premier CTE publishing company. So from your district to districts all around Texas, they are definitely using a lot of our CTE resources. And it was only just a few years ago that the state of Texas had a huge CTE adoption, and 45 of our titles were adopted by Texas schools. So we are very well known in Texas, but in 2015, we first developed our health education resources, and we have dominated the health market ever since. Christina is your educational consultant, but this is our Texas team. While Christina is your educational consultant, we are all here to support you guys throughout the review process and during the implementation stage as well. I don't live in Texas, but I've been there quite a bit lately making presentations. So we're all here to support you. As I mentioned, more than 45 of our titles are being used in Texas schools. We have a great customer service and tech support team that you're seeing on the screen now. And all of these individuals help with that initial implementation, making sure that your schools, your teachers are all set up and ready to go for the beginning of the school year. But our health education title, something that's, I think, pretty relevant and important to know is that since your district is looking at us and reviewing us for middle and high school, I think it's important to know that Catherine Sanderson and Mark Zellman, they wrote the middle and the high school health textbook. And this is nice because it really does allow that same author team to build on concepts and skills over time as students move from middle into high school years. And that's including those lessons on HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. So it allowed them to kind of advance those lessons as students got older and to increase rigor and also skill development. Just know that anything that students are doing, all the skills-based activities and assessments, were all developed by us teachers. So it truly is a program developed by teachers for teachers and reviewed by an extensive list of Texas teachers. So as mentioned at the beginning, the Goodheart Wilcox programs do meet the requirements of the Texas Education Code and 100% of the TEKS for grade 6, 7, 8, and high school health 1 and health 2. So, and this is an image that just shows you that we have basically
the real tech high definition audio.
We have 2 programs for middle and high school. So we have our main text. So you can see on the left-hand side is the main text. We also have our companion text. Both of them are available in print. Both of them are available in digital. But think of this as 2 separate programs. And I'm going to go into more detail on this, but it really allows you to keep the main text, which is going to house lessons on nutrition and fitness, tobacco, alcohol, drugs, mental and emotional health, and social health. It's going to allow you to keep these lessons separate than those on HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. So it really ensures that the teacher doesn't forget to hide something because they are 2 completely separate programs, only released to those students whose parents, guardians opt into these lessons on HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. Same with the high school as well. So we'll go into a bit more detail on that now. So when you log in, and we're going to make sure that you guys have the username and password. This is our main platform for teachers. You can see that they can see the correlation to grade 6, 7, and 8. This is the textbook in English, the textbook in Spanish, the interactive tools, the workbook pages, the handouts, and of course those teacher resources. And this is going to be for the main content. Now, if you look at, these are our opt-in. So these are going to house those lessons on HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. You can see that the platform is very similar. And that's that both teachers and students will have the textbook in English, the textbook in Spanish, the interactive tools, the workbook pages, the handouts, and the teacher has the teacher resources. So really anything that is offered for one lesson, like in the main text on baby, would also be offered for a lesson on HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. It's still going to have workbook pages. It's still going to have handouts. It's going to have a lesson plan. It's going to have a PowerPoint. They're just two separate programs. And then this gives you like just one screen that just shows you in the middle school program. These are the topics that are being covered. And we can go into some more detail on that now. But you can see chapter 17 is on puberty. And then these are going to be our lesson titles. Chapter 18 is on preventing and responding to violence. Chapter 19 is on making responsible sexual decisions. And chapter 20 is on STIs and HIV. And that just shows you those lesson titles as well. Just know that those do meet 100% of the teams. But if you have students, and I think this is really important because we know that you guys are going to have some students whose parents, guardians do not opt in to these lessons on HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. In our teacher resources, we have created alternative activities for those students whose parents, guardians did not opt in. So you can see here, it's up to you how your district does this, but they may go to a separate setting like the library or another classroom. That's decided by the district. But if they're not participating in the lessons in the classroom, they still have alternative activities to do.
Ms. McCarley, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Is Dr. Cruz on here? We are getting a lot of background noise. We need members to mute. And we may need to determine what the background noise is.
I'll pause for just a second.
I'm sorry. I just asked them.
Okay, so go to participants right there.
Would you like me to proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. So just, and I do want to just, and I'll get into the platform now, but just know that what I explained for middle school is exactly the same for high school as well. So again, this is our online platform for teachers because it does have the teacher resources at the bottom. But this is the main text for high school. This is the opt-in resources for high school. And then we have the topics that are covered for high school. So, once again, these lessons would only be released once that parent opts their child into these lessons. And I just want to pause for a moment so you guys can look at the titles and the topics. The bullets would be the lessons. And they do meet 100% of the TEKS. And again, this is going to be separate. So, these separate companion texts is available in print. So you could have a floppy cover of the textbook for your students, and you could just hand those out in class. Just know that it's also available in full digital as well. So if your district decides to integrate with Schoology, it's a separate common cartridge. So it really takes away some of that pressure on the teacher because they're not hiding anything from students, or they're not forgetting to do something, because it's a separate common cartridge released at the direction of the school and the district. And again, the high school program also has these resources that if a student is not opting in, then they have alternative activities to do. So for you guys, I know your district was considering a Schoology integration. Again, I just want to reinforce this is the main text for high school and middle school. And then this is the separate companion text for high school and middle school. This is our opt-in content. So it would be a different common cartridge. So let's take a look at the platform. So I've logged in using the username and password that we will provide you at the end of this presentation. The first thing you're going to see when you log in is when it says Curriculum Center for Texas Health Skills for Middle School. This is the main text. The one that says Companion Text is going to be those lessons on HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. That's middle school. If you scroll down, you'll see the same thing for high school, the main text and the companion text. So I'm going to click on the high school companion text. I can definitely click on the middle school as well. I just want to point out that how I click around in one will be exactly the same as how I click around in the other. And also know that if you guys move forward with your Schoology integration, all of these resources would be imported into Schoology. So your platform, all the resources would already be in Schoology for you. So I'm going to click on this textbook. You can see as I scroll down, there's the table of contents. Then you can see chapter 20, 21 on relationships and sexual abstinence, chapter 22, and chapter 23. So I'll just click on chapter 23. It will give you an idea of the text and just kind of what it looks like, the flow of the text. So when you guys are clicking around exploring these resources, anytime you click the home button, it will take you back to the main landing page. I can zoom in, I can zoom out. Now, this search button, I think, is really helpful during your review process. If you want to type in a term, whatever that term is, if it's pregnancy or sexually transmitted infections, HIV, you can type in any term and it will take you to all the pages of the book that include that key term. So if you're curious, how does your textbook address this topic? I think probably the best thing to do is to just log in, type in the term that you're wondering about, click go, and then it would take you to every page of the book where that term is addressed. And then you can obviously review it. But we did write this with the TEKS language in mind and to meet 100% of the TEKS. So if it's in the TEKS, then it's covered within these lessons. Click again to close. And then lastly, if you just want to easily go to another chapter or lesson, you can click this table of contents, and then you can go to another, you can even just jump to another lesson within as well. Click again to close. Oops. So at the top, you'll see the title, chapter 23, STIs and HIV. You'll see the lessons that are being covered. You can click directly on these to go right there. There's a check your health and wellness skills. This is an opportunity for students to self-assess. Every chapter will begin with a reading and note-taking activity. There's also setting the scene, which allows students to just make connections and answer critical thinking questions. Now, anything in our book, I think this is really helpful. Anything in our book, if it works well as a digital copy, then students and teachers can find it in the student handout folder. So if you have teachers that prefer print, they can easily print this activity. For those that want to assign it into Schoology or another platform, they can easily do that as a digital copy. And then you scroll down and you can see that you're already at another lesson. And if you want to jump, like if you just want to jump to another lesson, we could just go on preventing and treating STIs. You can just easily jump to another lesson. There's an essential question. You'll see our learning outcome statements. There's key terms. And then there's also, just to kind of give you the idea and the flow of the book, every lesson does have a warm-up. You can see that our focus is on practicing skills. And embedded within the pages are also features. This one is called Skills for Health and Wellness, promoting awareness about STIs, STDs. And then there's an activity for students to do. This one is on advocacy. And you'll see brightly colored images, infographics, pictures. Here's another one. This is Health in the Media, Conversations about Sexual Activity. And this is on analyzing influences, practicing different skills. And notice I'm scrolling down. This is important because our entire program meets accessibility guidelines. So if you have students or if you're a parent on here and your child is a struggling reader, then the entire program, including the textbook and all like the workbook pages, the handouts, can all be read with a screen reader or text-to-speech app. And then you'll see at the end of the lessons, we have our know and understand questions, think critically, and then we have our skills-based features, which is called our real-world health skills activity. And then as I scroll down, you can go to another lesson. And I should have mentioned, you're going to see, as I'm scrolling down, every lesson, you're going to see this, notice this activity icon. So I can click on it, and it does take me to an interactive activity. So you can see here, I'll just click on this.
Acquired immunodeficiency syndrome.
Every lesson has e-flashcards. They're available in English and Spanish. They're also available in full Spanish. We have our matching activity. This is really intended for students to just practice. They can click check answers and try again until they get them all right. There's vocabulary games. It's set up similar to Jeopardy. Whether they get it right or wrong, it does tell them the correct answer. There's spelling challenge, play the term, try to spell it correctly. And this lesson also has an animation. So our animations, this picture is in the book, and then just below it, the students can click on this, the activity icon to take them right here. So that was some of the many interactive tools that we have. So this was an overview of our digital textbook. Now I click that My Bookshelf tab. It always takes me back to the main landing page. I'll click on middle school this time, just to show you that, again, you have the textbook in English. You can click it on it in Spanish as well. And you can see that it does match. It will match page for page. And you have the chapters and the lessons that they can click on. And then you have our interactive tools. Just as I showed you before, you can just access them here, or you can click on the icons in the book. The next is a skills-based workbook. I love the workbook. It was really intended to extend learning and allow students to practice skills. So the workbook, like what do you do, what do you say, the consequences of sex, these are all activities to kind of extend learning, but they are also aligned to meet 100% of your TEKS. And teachers can print those. They can also assign them digitally. There's also a handout folder. So the handout folder, all this does is provide a digital copy of activities from the textbook. So for example, in lesson 17.2, this graphic organizer is in the book. This hands-on activity is in the book. This case study is in the book with critical thinking questions and the lesson review questions. All of these work well as a digital copy so that the teacher can find it in here as a digital copy. But these activities are also in the book. It just allows teachers to print the copies. It allows them to easily assign it digitally into like Schoology, if that's preferred, for students. Just to give them, we're really just trying to save them as much time as possible and hopefully make their lives a lot easier. We added for every lesson in our middle and high school program, we added reading guides. They're just set up similar to Cornell style notes to encourage more active readers. The middle school also has a vocabulary activity. And then last but not least, you have your instructor resources. And I'm still in the companion text, but for each lesson, we'll just click back on STIs. Here you're going to find like teacher tools. This is going to hopefully save a lot of time for teachers. Textbook answer keys, teacher resource answer keys, workbook answer keys, and then every lesson has a lesson plan and anything else that would possibly help teachers. You'll find these here. I used, so I'm the co-author of the middle school program, but both our middle and high school program has these parent trusted adult engagement homework assignments. And I know we have some parents on the call today, but our entire program, every chapter in our middle and high school program has an opportunity to engage families, extend learning home, and really reinforce the lessons that the teachers are facilitating in class. I use these in my classroom for 15 years, and it is by far what I am most proud of. And we've received lots of positive feedback from our middle and high school program with these activities. So I encourage you to check these out. And then at the end of every chapter, there are review and assessment activities as well. And for those teachers that want to give like what we call like a project, a skills-based project or a performance task, those teachers will have the directions for the teacher, the summative skills-based task for the student, and a rubric for grading. There's also PowerPoint presentations for each lesson. But I did want to point out one last thing, and I want to make sure you guys saw how I got here. I scrolled down, but you can use this table of contents and you can just scroll to the bottom. You guys see where it says alternative activities. These are going to be the alternative activities for those students whose parents, guardians did not opt in to the lessons on HB 1525 and Senate Bill 9. So you'll see here that we do have a parent guardian letter. This isn't a format that can be edited. You guys can make it specific for your school district. You can change some of our wording as well, but that will just inform parents about the upcoming lessons and allow them the opportunity to opt in. Christina can clarify this as well, but we are working on a Spanish version as well. And I'm not sure when that will be ready, but that will also be added. And then you can see here, if you're covering a topic such as dating relationships or sexual abstinence, then you have alternative activities to do with those students. So I know that it looks like I just have about 4 minutes left. I think you guys allotted about 30 minutes. I'm just going to pause and make sure to see if you guys have any questions about anything I've covered so far in our middle or our high school program as it relates to those lessons on HB 1525 or Senate Bill 9, or any questions.
Thank you. This is Audi Moreno from Harvey Elementary. Excuse me, Harvey. You explained the middle school and secondary, but what about the waiver that you were talking about?
This particular one today is just on the secondary because it pulls in the component of the sex education, which SHAC has to review.
Okay, thank you.
We can bring that back to you if you would like as well, though, on the waiver. Be happy to do that.
I'd like that. Thank you.
And as you guys are thinking of your questions, I'm going to make sure I'm on the screen. You guys should be able to see right now. It's a username and password that's going to give you full access to our middle and high school health resources. Remember, you'll be able to see not only the main text. I didn't click around in the main text today, but you will see both the main text and the companion text for both middle and high school health. So I'll just pause for a moment to see if you guys do have any questions. Christina, if there's any questions in the chat box as well. I think Christina, our educational consultant, is on the call.
Yeah, Mary, I'm here. I don't see any questions in the chat box at this time.
And Christina, I just want to make sure I was accurate in what I said about us developing the Spanish version of the parent letter as well. Is that accurate?
Yeah, no, Vanessa, our director of sales, had mentioned that at a previous SHAC meeting that we're in the works of translating our template for the parent letter into Spanish as well.
Are there any other questions? Now, don't forget, I think that search feature is really helpful. So as you guys are clicking around and exploring the content within the textbook, if you have questions about a specific topic, don't forget you can always type it in the search bar and it will take you to all those pages. So, I really hope this was helpful in providing you an overview of our resources. We do have a Texas landing page that just provides some additional information as well on our resources and our commitment to your state. But if you guys do need anything, Christina is your educational consultant. We're more than happy to continue to support you guys throughout this review process and also during the implementation stage. So I truly appreciate your time today. If you guys do have any final questions, I'm happy to answer them.
And I'm also not seeing any on the chat. And I would also like to allow the participants, if you don't ask now or you think of something later, obviously you can send in to myself or Ms. Wilson, and we will make sure we get the answers for you.
So Dr. Hope,
Yes.
are we gonna take a recommendation right now to SHAC to recommend this?
Right, so I have a recommendation from the subcommittee. I would like to have a recommendation if there are no questions and satisfied with the product, a recommendation from also the SHAC committee.
Okay, anybody have anything to say? I think the program looks excellent. I think it's everything we need, especially meeting TEKS. And, you know, we have work to do, but we can get it done. So as the co-chair of SHAC, I recommend adopting this health book for our children. I need to hear from other people though.
I seconded Lou.
Okay.
I agree, Lou.
Okay, Dr. Williams, Mr. Segovia says he's a yes. Nurses? Casey says yes.
Odie says yes.
Okay.
I say yes.
Tommy Trevino, Ms. Yandell, Michelle Butler, all they say yes. I think that's pretty much about Caitlin Bunch, yes. About 60% of the Dr. Farah, yes. Ms. Moreno, yes. I think that's a good 60–70%, Dr. Holt.
Yeah, and I thank you for that committee, because I know that the subcommittee for proclamation will be excited too, because they truly did like the product and appreciated the way that the module had been pulled out for the sex education and the alternative activities. The parent letter, everything that was provided. It is mandated by the state that we do have these TEKS taught in middle school. It's optional in the high school, and currently we don't have a health program. So it will be taught in the middle school in case that is ever a question that might come up afterwards. So I think that this provides us everything that we need and consider it. And our policy has not changed. We are an abstinence policy currently within the district, so we will adhere to that as well. Some of the other products that are out for adoption across the state are abstinence plus, which our policy does not cover in the district. So this is a good option for us, I feel, and I'm glad you appreciate that as well. And I think if nobody has any other questions, we'd like to again thank Ms. McCarley for coming in and doing the presentations. Thank you so much for the publishing and the consulting that we're getting with the company and the supports we're getting the company. Christina, thank you again for setting this up on rather short notice for our special meeting. We really appreciate that.
And Dr. Holt, would you just remind everybody on the bottom of the agenda shows the next SHAC meetings?
Okay, so in case someone can't hear, the next SHAC meeting is going to be March 30th. That was March 30th is going to be moved.
It's April. It's in April.
It's and maybe I'm not looking at. It's April the 27th, and then the final one will be May 17th.
Correct. Thank you.
You're welcome. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email as well. We'll keep in constant contact with the publisher as we proceed and implementation, and we'll bring you back more as implementation occurs as well.
Okay. I'd like to ask one question.
Okay.
I feel like attendance was much better today being on Zoom. If this is something they would like to consider for the rest of the year, I want people to think about that, and then we'll send out an email asking everybody what they think and maybe do the next to Zoom. I just think the attendance is better.
Any other comments on that at this time, or? It does seem like a lot of here. I haven't done a final count, but it does seem like we have a good turnout.
Yeah.
Yes,
Very
there were
well.
25 members. I really liked it.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Holt. Thank you, Ms. McCauley. And I guess we're going to adjourn.
That's all I have on my end of the proclamation. So, and
Okay.
again, thank you to the committee.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, y'all. Good evening.